stories to lift each other, give hope to push us further, and encourage one another. Behind the scenes beauty.
AJ Crimson is a pure example that if you're going to bet on anyone, it's best to bet on yourself. AJ is best known as a celebrity makeup artist and beauty and lifestyle expert. His long list of celebrity clients include people like Fergie of the Black Eyed Peas, Adrienne Bailon, LaToya Luckett, Lauren London, Brandy, Naturi Naughton, and Bresha Webb. He was blessed to work alongside heavy hitters in the industry such as Pat McGrath at New York Fashion Week and makeup gurus Joanne Gayer and Matthew Anderson. AJ took his creative talents past just being an artist, but to being an entrepreneur, starting with a luxury brand of lip glosses called Kissable Couture he worked on with partner Keisha Whitaker. AJ later went on to expand on his own, restructuring and coming up with a makeup line called AJ Crimson Beauty, and is now celebrating the launch in Nordstroms. AJ proves you're only limited by what you believe is possible. So we have with us today the amazing AJ Crimson. Hello, sir.
Hey, how are you? Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad to finally have you. We were trying
We've
to
been trying
figure
to
it
figure this
out.
out for a minute, right?
We were trying to figure it out, and then I was like, maybe we'll have to break down and do a virtual, because I feel like you're such a great conversationalist.
Oh, thank you.
That you deserve an in-person, we sit down and just chop it
Well,
up.
I wanted to do it in person. I felt like it just wasn't going to be right. I mean, you know, like why not? Like I want to sit in your chairs too. Like what's going on?
Exactly. I'm so glad to have you. So AJ, tell us a little bit about your beginnings. Everyone, I go through people's start and how they got into the business, and so tell us about your beginning.
So I'm going to try to give it to you in the most compact way.
Okay.
Started in artist development, moved into radio for the #1 station in Detroit. Well, actually, I started in radio, moved into artist development, and then that kind of led to working on like album projects and stuff like that. I got an opportunity to work on a movie called 8 Mile. You may have heard of it, with Brittany Murphy and Eminem.
I don't know.
That's a little.
It was a little
right?
movie. I'm not sure.
I was definitely hired to do laundry, so it's okay. But I did laundry for like 2 weeks, and then I got to work under the amazing costume designer, Oscar-winning costume designer Mark Bridges, which was really great. And he gave me an opportunity to move to Los Angeles and like kind of start a new life. And 2 months later, after a benign tumor in my jaw and a burnt hand and several days of watching Behind the Music, I found myself with $700 and $750, and I bought a bus ticket. So I had $500 in 2 bags, and I was on my way. And I didn't tell anybody I was leaving until I was actually on the bus this time and backing out.
$700 must be the magic number, because that's the number. That's how much money I had in my pocket when I moved to LA. $700.
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, because that was what left I had when she left Philly to go to Atlanta, and I was like, you know what? I have $700.
If I never thought I was going to be successful, I know it now. Now that you're telling me it happened to Left Eye too, I just hope I don't, burn up nobody's house.
There you go. I mean, stay cool.
but $700 is clearly the magic number. Okay, so you go to LA, you're there, and so
LA, like everybody was kind of like, don't go to LA without a car, don't go to LA without this, don't go to LA without saving a bunch of money. And I literally left in debt. Like I had $20,000 worth of medical bills from the benign tumor and that surgery. But I was like, you know what? I believe enough in myself that I'm going to make that money back, so I'm going to do that, because I could easily like stay here and try to pay all this off before I reach for the dream. But I had been putting so much of myself into other people's dreams that I needed to do whatever I needed to do for me, and that was the time. The window of opportunity was then, and I decided to take it. So upon getting to LA, after literally calling Mark saying, hey, like, is that opportunity still available? He was like, yeah, like, where are you at? I was like, well, I'm on the Greyhound now. I'll be there in like a day. He was like, what? Like, I didn't expect you so soon, but let me know where to pick you up. And it really was the first day of the rest of this journey that I've been on, because, from, just kind of seeing Sunset Plaza and the Beverly Center and running into like people like Justin Timberlake or Jill Maureen Jones at the time. And that was the fuel, that I needed, to like kind of do it. I used to give myself $20 a week to eat at a restaurant on Sunset Plaza called Sushia, which was next door to a place called Le Petit Four, where all the celebrities would go.
So wait a minute, what would you get for $20?
Well, I was getting like some sushi or some miso, like a little miso, a little sushi. And I was making it work and stretching it out, but to have the experience, because it was really more or less, it was less about the money that you have, but more or less about putting yourself in position to get the money that you want and to be around the people that you needed to know, and the people that needed to know you, and the world that you wanted to be a part of. So that was like my entryway into that.
Okay, so hearing you talking, it's only been 3 minutes in. I want to know, where does that come from? You having these ways of thinking, where was that birthed from?
I think it's always been in me. I definitely. I don't know. My parents are very entrepreneurial. However, I don't think that they saw the vision that I saw for myself. And I had to hang on to whatever that was. I remember like being maybe like 11 or 12 and coming home and saying, hey, like I found these, boarding schools that I want to go to in Switzerland. I found this one, the American school in Paris. Can I go here? Like, that kind of a thing. And they're like, what are you talking about?
Right.
I mean, I've always known that the world was much bigger than what was around me, and I just needed to see it and be a part of it. And maybe some of that comes from, like times, sitting with my grandmother when I was 5, watching like soap operas, like All My Children. Like I remember that vividly and kind of seeing the lifestyle that they were living there and thinking like, oh, like I could be a part of that. I think that, a lot of my early speech, a lot of my early language, came from watching shows like that. And, I definitely grew up on TV. Like I loved television. So I used it as an escape, but also as a guide, like to see what the possibilities were. So I think for me, it was just always just kind of fighting for that. And no matter whether other people understood what was happening, I knew where I wanted to go. And I did attach myself to teachers and counselors because I found a great deal of support amongst those folks at school who saw my potential and saw how hard I was working.
Were you like an A student in school?
I would say I didn't become an A student. I was an average student until 9th grade. Okay. But that was also, I think, psychological when I think about it, because like I would get these D's and C's in middle school and maybe even elementary, who knows? But my dad would always say to me, "Oh, you can't wait till you get to high school to start getting good grades." And what I found about myself throughout my journey is that when people say I can't do something, like I typically wait until their breaking point of like, or the threshold that they say I can't do it at, and then I show them actually it can be done.
So tell us how you got your start in makeup though. How did you become a makeup artist?
So that was like most things that I've done. It was seeing a need and filling a need, and it was also hearing somebody say what can't happen, and then me having to say, no, I can think it and I'm seeing it in my head. So just tell me that you don't know how to do it so that we can move on from this and we can find somebody that can do it, or I can just do it myself, or I just need to do it myself. And we were working on a shoot and having, kind of worked in this artist development world in this realm, under some really great, mentors. We were concepting things and we were conceptualizing, what that artist would be and what they would look like and what the career would look like, right? And one of the girls that we were working on, she was 16 at the time, and nobody knew who she was. Yeah, they still don't know, but like, cause it didn't work. But
right.
But so sweet, right? And the makeup artist that was hired for the job, like literally didn't do anything that was in the book, not in the right way, not to the degree of the references.
Right.
And I was like, man, like I don't see any of the references that I have in this book, and I'm pretty literal about my ideas.
Right.
If I had your stuff, I would just do this myself. And it seemed like really harsh in the moment of saying it, but that was a real moment, that was a real feeling. She was getting paid real money and she wasn't delivering on what was needed.
Right.
And I just kind of remember going home thinking like, man, like, I should get some stuff. Why don't I have some stuff? I was like, I think maybe I'm afraid of what to do, or like but I got to get my idea out. So I actually took the girl to a Mac store and I was like, hey, can you guys reproduce this look? And I watched them do it. I bought everything and I tried it. I took her back to the office and I tried it. And I was like, hey, I want to just take some Polaroids of this. And And I was like, okay, cool. This is not bad. Like, I see what I need to do. So I went back and asked for a job at the Mac store part-time.
Oh.
And that was the entryway because I needed to learn how to do foundation. I felt like color is something that either you see it or you don't. But like skin and details like that, like that needs some more training.
Gotcha.
So I went there to do that. And I stayed for maybe 6 months or so before I got hired on 8 Mile. And
6 months.
Yeah.
You and Morel Hollis, y'all have these stories that y'all go from here to here. I'm like, where did that happen? I worked as a shampoo boy for 20 years.
Oh, wow.
I was frying chicken before I even first met my first celebrity, so I don't understand. But, you know, everybody has a different journey.
Yeah.
So you get 8 Mile. Does that make you want to stay in film? Does that encourage you to want to work with more celebrities?
So I actually almost didn't get 8 Mile because when they called, I was walking into my part-time job at Mac, right? And the costume designer or costume supervisor was like, hey, can you come down and interview? We got your resume from a director friend of mine who was working in art department, in the art department. So she was like, hey, give me your resume. I'm gonna send it to all these people. I was like, all right, great, got it. So when I finally get the call, I'm like, hey, well, I'm actually walking into work. I can't, come down and
So you don't even
now.
know that your resume is over there with 8 Mile.
I knew it was, but I didn't know who it was going to be with. It was either in costumes or it was in makeup.
Okay. Gotcha.
So I kind of created a resume for both, and the costumes department ended up calling me back, and that was when they called her, like I was unavailable because I was literally standing in front of the store, walking into it. And I was like, I can't make this interview right now. I'm going to work, and like. I was like, can we do it tomorrow? Like, no, we're trying to fill this position right now, but if something else comes up, we'll call you back. And that was such a powerful moment for me because I literally was walking into a place that I didn't expect to be it wasn't my goal to be a makeup artist at this establishment for the rest of my days. You know, and it was really just to kind of learn some things and move on. So I knew that I was never going to let a job stand in the way of my career opportunities again. And that was the lesson to learn in that moment because I really was devastated. Luckily, I did get a second phone call about a week or two later, and I happened to be on 8 Mile with a photographer. I was like, yes, I can come meet you right now. And literally got hired on the spot for $100 a day doing laundry on an overnight shift.
Oh, wow.
And they were like, when can you start? I was like, well, when do you need me to start? They were like, can you start now? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I just need to make a phone call. And that was to let my manager at the Mac store know I couldn't make it because this door opened up a second time. Yeah. But I was like, I'll come back and help you for the holiday, but I got to do this.
Gotcha. So how did you move into celebrity?
Celebrity, so...
Like, who's your first celebrity client? What is that moment
Actually,
like?
it's so funny because I always tell the story, and I started with Fergie from Black Eyed Peas. Like, she was my first female celebrity that I worked with. But my first celebrities were like Peter Falk and Tom Selleck.
Oh, wow.
Like, I did like all of these shoots. They were loved in Croatia. So this photographer that I worked with was this Croatian photographer. He kind of did like your Hello magazines, but for the European version, the Croatian version. So they would always have these two like in the magazines. So I did Larry Hagman from Dallas.
Yeah, Dallas. I grew up on Dallas.
Right? And so Larry Hagman, Peter Falk, and Tom Selleck were my first celebrities. And then after just kind of hitting the pavement and being on the internet, like looking for things, I stumbled across this ad for a fashion designer who was helping to put a new clothing line together, and it happened to be for will.i.am of Black Eyed Peas. Her name was Lori Phillips, and her name is Lori Phillips, and she hired me to do a test shoot for them, and I was so professional. I had my Crystal Wright hair, makeup, and wardrobe guide, and I was like, we got to do a deal memo.
That book.
Right, I was like, but that book got me through, and I had my deal memo and my, test for print paperwork, like to make sure I made her sign it and everything. She's like, I'll give you the pictures. I was like, no, we just got to do it by the book,
Right.
But it was great, and it led to a really great relationship. So I ended up doing Where's the Love?
Oh, wow.
That was the first music video I did, and I got hired for hair and makeup for Fergie. And I ended up hiring a hairstylist to do the hair for me, and I did the makeup, and it was great. And I stayed with Fergie for about 4 years.
Oh, wow.
We met at a fashion show that it did just before that video came out, but Lori gave me the tip to say, hey, call the production company, let them know you work with us, and then so we can get you on the video.
Wow,
Yeah,
that
so
is
it's cool.
amazing. So, okay, so now you're learning to build, because things have completely changed. Now social media has
Yeah.
taken over. People don't really understand the way we as artists had to beat the pavement prior. It's changed a lot. What are some things that you feel like are missing from this generation's makeup artists? What are some key things that they are not really grasping hold of, that we as a generation before that had to, it wasn't so accessible to us?
I think that your career is not, you have to build a career. You don't just get a career. You have to build a career. You have to, it's not microwavable, as we have said 1,000 times, like over socials, like, hey, like your career is not microwavable. You have to put in the work if you want those results, you know? I think that they're missing the in-between, like the grind, the hustle, the desire to want, like that thing of like, hey, I gotta get out of the city of Detroit because I feel like I'm bigger than what this city can offer, and there's a bigger moment. Let me take all of what I have, regardless to what I don't have, and go make it happen. And let me put myself in front of everybody that I can speak to and everybody that, you know, may know someone, to let them know what I'm doing, because now we're in that age of don't tell anybody what you're doing because, you know, you got to keep the bad energy off of you. But it's like, if you didn't walk into it with bad energy, then how can the bad energy come at you, right? Like, you know, like, oh, LA is full of fake people. Well, if you're fake, or if you do fake things, then you're gonna find yourself in that space. Or, you know, if you
I don't know, because LA and me, we did not mesh well.
really, I mean,
I made it work, but because that's the type of guy I am.
Oh, I'm gonna do that anyway. I'm gonna do that anyway because that's how I am.
and I think it can be people always say, like, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. I think if you can make it in LA, you can make it anywhere. Like, that is really what it is.
I
Because
think
my
New York
time in
is
New York was so much easier.
So
you
much.
know, for me.
I think people here are nicer. I think people, and that's crazy to believe, but I feel like people aren't intimidated by what you can bring, because for me, it always felt like there was always so much work that if I can't do it, it's okay if you do it.
Yeah.
My experiences in LA were, if I get you the job, I'm holding it over you. I always got you that job, and you're gonna owe me something forever. And you know, it's just weird. Like my career is built up off of people that have been kind to me and just giving me work. So, and most of that came from my situations here in New York. I could not say the same for. I have a few people in LA, but
not many.
Not many. Not many at all. Okay, so you're working with different clients. You're working with LaToya Luckett and Fergie and all these great people. And so clearly you always have it in you by hearing your story. When do you decide that you need something that's making money for you when you're not doing makeup?
That was early. Was
that always the plan?
No, it wasn't always the plan. I think I was working with Fergie, and so at the beginning of Fergie's career with the Black Eyed Peas, we were splitting like my airfare, you know, for me to be in certain places with her, or I was just fronting the money because I knew I was going to get paid, you know, later to be somewhere. So I remember coming for a press junket that she had here in New York, and it was going to be a week-long trip. But I had to come a week earlier because the ticket that I could afford was cheapest a week earlier. So I was just literally sitting in my friend's loft in Greenpoint by myself for a couple of days thinking, like, what am I gonna do? Like, cause it wasn't like now, like where everyday girls wanna get glam, right? You know, and kind of have that experience. I literally was working, I had just gotten my agent. So my idea was that I can't really work outside of my agent. I have to wait on my agent to call me for a job, you know, and I don't really know anybody in New York that's gonna want to hire me right now anyway. So I literally start thinking, like, I need to make something. But I had been thinking that over some time, because I had Fergie and Keisha Cole at the same time.
Okay.
And Keisha, I would just buy like new lip glosses all the time. Fergie, I would buy like new lipsticks all the time, new everything. So I was like, oh, I should make like lipstick. And then, you know, I thought like, well, maybe, what do I buy all the time? I actually buy lip glosses more. Let me how do I make lip gloss? So I ended up on a phone call one day with the president of the United Council of Chemists. and I didn't realize I was going to get him. I just called the number that I found, online or in the book, and the woman said, "Hold on." The receptionist said, "Let me put you on the line." And I ended up, she was like, I was like, "Hey, how's it going?" And he started talking to me. He gave me so much great information, in that phone call. But that was what jump started it, because I knew at that point I needed to do something. It wasn't like hair, where everybody needs their hair done all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, okay, but you did this collaboration, Kissable.
So I concepted Kissable Couture.
Okay.
And at the time I had met Keisha Whitaker, my business, who became my business partner. I met her by doing her makeup at the Mac store that I worked at in LA, like in Hollywood and Highlands. So I was doing her makeup, we became friends. And
now, are you aware that she's Forrest Whitaker's wife?
I think at some point, like I did, because she was like, oh, like when she was coming down to the store, one day she was like, oh, well, can you come up to the house? I was like, yeah, that's fine, I can come up. So I ended up coming up to the house, and I think one day I did see Forrest kind of walking around, and in my head I was like, oh, okay, cool, like that's dope. And then, but I didn't make a big thing out of it. You know what I mean? It was like, okay, cool. Like I was just enamored by her, really. So one day I was telling her, I was like, hey, like I got this idea. I'm gonna do lip gloss. And she was like, oh, really? Like, tell me about it. So I told her the name. I said, I'm gonna call it Kissable Couture, and and I want to do this. And she said, I want to do that with you. We should do it. And I was like, okay, cool. And in my mind at that time, I was just thinking, oh, she might just be talking. It's good conversation to say, right? I had come back to New York. And on a trip back here, she called me out of the blue. And she was like, hey, honey, like, what's going on? I was like, hey, what's up? Like, how you doing? And we just started kicking it. She's like, well, so what's going on with our lip gloss empire? And I was like, oh, in my head, I was thinking like, oh, shit, like, you're serious.
Right.
And I was like, well, this is what I've been doing. This is what I've been working on. Can you come to New York? And she came to New York. We met with a few of the manufacturers I had been talking to, and literally that kind of jump-started it, So that was good.
So how long did you just keep it at just lip glosses? And
so Kissable Couture was designed to just be luxury lip gloss. Like literally, like the way that I conceptualized it, I thought about things that I saw, growing up. Like I used to like a lot of old movies for some reason, and they, how women would, come out with have the sales associate bring out all of the bags or all the boxes, kind of a thing. So I was like, okay, I knew I wanted it in a box. And all the girls that I went to school with, like they all got this Tiffany & Co. bean, like that was their first piece. So I would just remember them taking it out of the box, and it had that white ribbon on it. So that was the experience I wanted behind Kissable Couture. It was like for every woman to get that lip gloss and feel like she was giving a gift to herself, and I think this, at the time, like that lip gloss was $22, where it was probably one of the most expensive ones when we launched it. And we launched it at Henry Bendel and here in New York, and Fred Siegel in LA. And it was on Oprah's Favorite Things. Keisha went on to like kind of talk about it, and we were there. So that was exciting, and it just got,
I was gonna say, how
stuff.
is that feeling to realize, because I always, to have something that isn't something you're thinking about, just an idea in your head, and to see it
come to life
as it did.
It was,
and not just in a little way, because Harry Bendel's and all these places, they're not the bodega on the corner.
For sure. And I was talking to a friend of mine today, and the thing that people don't see, like all of that sounds really dope, right? Like that sounds amazing. But the year before, like that project actually stopped because I was reading this book called The Millionaire Mind, and just some things that were in the book I was like, oh, I'm seeing how this is playing out every day. And, from that, one of those first meetings that we took, we were going to create 7 shades of lip gloss, which we did end up putting out, but we had to create about, I want to say, it was going to be like 60,000 units of each of these, right? So actually 70,000, because it was 10,000 each one, or something ridiculously high. And I was like, what am I going to do with 70,000 units of lip gloss in my New York apartment?
Right.
And even though my apartment was fairly large, it was a nice size, but where are all these boxes going?
Right.
And trying to figure that out, I was like, what if people don't like it? And what if, what are we gonna do with this? Where is it going? Because we didn't have a deal with like anybody yet.
Right.
It was just gonna go online. And it started to, that equation started to wear on me, like a binary number, because it was something that I could not figure out. And so I stopped. I stopped for about 7 months. And And I went back to the manufacturer, I was like, hey, like I can't produce 70,000 pieces of product. Like it just doesn't make sense. I don't know where it's going. And can we just do like one or two? Like I know I can get a feature in this magazine or that magazine. I know I can jumpstart it this kind of way. And I'm thinking like, in my mind, I'm thinking like, oh, if I just get it in People magazine, you know, then it'll sell like thousands of everything. But that's not really how it works either,
that's
right?
Not how that works.
So, but I knew I had to break it down. So I just started working backwards. I was like, hey, like, so who did this? So she put a little bug in my ear and said, hey, go to this company and, you know, tell them I sent you, and then they will know what to do from there. And I started the process over, but I did it in a smarter way. And even with that company, they wanted me to produce these large amounts. When I went through the process, I was like, hey, like I've been asking you how much is this gonna cost? And you're telling me, oh, it's the cost of doing business. Oh, it's just the cost of doing business. Like we do this, we do this. But then when we get to the final number, I'm like, I'm almost at the same place I was before. And it's not about the money, it's just about the quantity of what you're asking me to do.
And now you put me in this pressure to push it.
Exactly. So I said, well, who made the box? Who made this? Who made the component? The component was the person that sent me to them in the first place. So like, how many of these do I have to buy? 10,000 units? All right, cool. There, done. So I put the order in for the 10,000 units. Who made this box? You know, I'm looking at all my samples. I'm like, here, these people made it. All right, called them up. What's the least amount of boxes I can make? Made those. I think it was like something like 3,000 boxes, right? So now it starts to make more sense. It's like, because what they were doing was more turnkey, where, you know, I had to go back and develop, you know, we were developing the shades and that kind of thing, but I was like, okay, now I need to find somebody who can take these shades and give me the least amount of fill, you know, or at least make the bulk and fill only a certain amount at a time and hang on to my bulk. So that's how I figured it out. And then, you know, but it took 2 years to get it off the ground. You know, so by the time we did get it there, like, yeah, like I felt great about it, you know?
And so then you started, at what point, or did you switch over and decide, I don't want to just be lip glosses anymore. I want to have a full line. I want to have foundations. And
so with Kissable, like, you know, we were just kind of playing in the lip space, but I want to say the crash of 2008, you know, kind of changed. We had a lot of pending deals on the table, like where one of our products was going to be written into, or the company itself was going to be written into a soap opera, which was going to be really dope as a rival company to a popular show, like a popular company within the soap opera that everybody knows. So that was exciting. Then like a major retailer, where we were going to piggyback off of that, and it was also going to kind of fall into like a home shopping network as well, like this 360 kind of a thing. But then the crash happened, like the recession, and you know, all of those plans got halted, and you know, we had to take more of a grassroots approach to just kind of keeping up the retail that we had and like finding new, you know, smaller apothecaries and boutiques. But during that time, I had already started developing concepts for AJ Crimson. I knew I was going to do it was called AJ Crimson Makeup at the time, but I knew that I was going to do that, and I was going to make complexion my staple.
What is beauty? Beauty is.
I realized there was something missing in the world of makeup. AJ Crimson beauty products are specifically designed to enhance your natural beauty. I never want you to be hidden in the makeup. Our mission is to address the needs of every woman. The colors are correct, rich, and warm. AJ Crimson Beauty is a global brand.
Beauty is
empowering. Beauty is flawless, effortless.
Beauty is AJ Crimson.
But it wasn't until 2010 when I shut down Kissable Couture to really just kind of focus on other areas of my businesses. And I kind of stepped away from makeup, actually, which a lot of people don't know. I started managing artists, hair, makeup, and wardrobe artists. And in 2012, I was invited to a keynote, and I was like, you know what? I can't go to this keynote without something. Maybe we should just test these colors out and see if it works. Like, let's make 500 pieces and see what happens. And I was able to do it in 30 days, like get it all done. Like, because I had already done so much of the work before. I just hadn't felt confident enough to put my name on it. You know what I mean? Like before, you know, I thought I had to do it without my name, but I was like, you know what? now's the time to try it, you know?
Right.
And I took the 500 pieces to Orlando at the makeup show, and I sold out of all 500 pieces, and I was like, oh, wow, like, okay, like, I got something here, and that was the start of AJ Crimson Beauty, you know?
And
So
it sort of fueled you to be like, okay, now I'm gonna come up with blush palettes and all of that stuff.
it was, so the packaging changed. It went through a couple different evolutions from this big round that I was giving people a 4-year supply of product for like $20 and didn't really realize it. Because the next year I came back, I was like, oh, you want to get some more? Oh, I still got some. Girls who had that first batch
Still
literally had it for like 3 years. They probably still have it, you know, 7 years later. But it was this evolution of just like, okay, how do we build this? How do I refine it? How do I take it from the jars? Because for me, the jar was so beautiful and it was in line with like what I wanted. I wanted you to put it on your counter. But what I was also realizing was that a lot of my first clientele was makeup artists, and what they were doing is scooping it out and putting it in other little containers, and it was wearing me out. I was like, you know how much this jar cost me to do it? You're just tossing it out. So that's where the AJ Crimson Artist Kit was born. Like I literally thought, okay, how do we make this refillable? Let's look at what the customer need is, and how do we refine it and make it so it is compact and it feels like something she wants to carry all the time, and not scrape it out, you know, but just make refillable pans. So yes, that's the best thing I could have came up with.
Oh, is the
AJ Crimson Artist Kit. Like that is, and it's had like two lives before that look, but and it's going through another change now. Okay. An evolution, but it's
so I want to ask you, what's it like being a black man in this space? I mean, are you, because I don't, and we could be wrong, so don't shoot us, but I don't know a lot of black men. I know people that have partnerships with major brands, but I don't know anyone that is 100% ownership of the brand. So what is it like being a black man in this space?
I think now, you know, it was so interesting because I think as I started, I mean, obviously there's great artists that have been around, you know, that we've all like kind of looked up to and like looked to for mentorship on both sides, male and female. Some of the artists that, you know, I've always looked up to, obviously like Sam Fine and Kevin Aquan, and like, you know, Matthew Anderson is like an artist who really gave me a big start, you know, assisting him. And, you know, getting to this place, or always kind of seeing those faces and wanting to be, you know, that, or like knowing that all of the girls are calling them, you know, it's like, okay, I want to be the guy where all the girls are calling me. And then, you know, and I got to that place, you know, where all the girls were calling me. I have a really great roster of, you know, clients that I've worked with over the years. And, you know, for me, you know, that evolution has been really exciting, and that journey has been really, it's been fun, it's been challenging, it's been fast, you know, it's been slow, you know, it's like that changing of the guards that happens as well. And then you start to second guess, like, you know, like, damn, are you good anymore? Or like, you know, like, do people want, like, who's the next hot thing, right? Because at one point, like, I was the hot new thing, right? But I think the way that I've kind of kept my head off of that is by doing things like this, you know, where it's like, oh, let's come up with product, and I'm telling all my friends, like, hey, like, product is the way to go. Like, we got to do this. I'm really proud of the space that I'm in with this right now because I've stuck with it. I've stuck with it. It wasn't a big push for me to sell it. It hasn't been a big goal for me to offload it onto some other, you know, company. Like, I like the idea that I own it 100%. I like the idea that we get to grow at our own pace, that I've gotten to grow at my own pace, that I've got to make my own mistakes, that I put my money into it. So any mistake I make, it fell on my back. You know what I mean? I wasn't at the leisure of, you know, some investor or somebody pressuring me and then, you know, losing my name because of, you know, sales were down or it just goes away. Like, and that was one big thing that has always been like really important to me to, I never want to be an employee of a company with my name on it.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? So unless it's for the right price, and that price to me at this point is like whatever one $100,000 more than what Jamie Kern got.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
So I want like 1.5 billion, 3 billion, something to that effect. I want those kind of numbers,
Yeah.
for this. I'm happy at whatever level. I mean, we've done really well. So that's the great thing. We have done really well, and
you have new news to share.
Say it again.
You have new news to share.
Oh, I do have new news to share, and it's launching in Nordstrom. That's exciting in itself because we're in a time where the men and I almost don't really know that many men in makeup anymore. At least coming up, like we know the people have made names for themselves now. Like the Kill Pretties and the Rennies and those guys and the Sir Johns and just like it's a great roster of guys that are men that are doing makeup. But in terms of like spearheading a product line to this point, I'm kind of doing it on my own right now, but I'm seeing other people come and they're coming with their ideas, and I think that's the great part, to be that inspiration for that to happen, because there needs to be more of that, because right now all of the companies are owned by women, which is also great, because I think there was a time in beauty where women didn't trust women, right? Like they didn't trust each other to do their face, or they thought like whatever you were doing on them, but they're in full effect now, and they want that look. If you got 40 lashes on and 18 colors, I want that. Or if they just want just like something very elegant and beautiful, whatever it is that you do, they want that as well. So I think it's just such a good time. So it's such a loaded question, and that's why I'm giving you so much of an answer.
But I get it. I mean, I'm sitting here in my head, I'm just imagining walking through Nordstrom's and seeing something with your name in it, and
I think that's exciting.
The accomplishment. And you think?
I mean, so when I first saw the first product pop up on .com, it was like really late, and I just happened to go to the website. Let me see if it's there, and because they didn't give me a date of when it was happening. It just happens, so to speak. And I looked, I was like, oh wow, okay, it's there. The foundation is like right there. I was like, okay, all right. I was like, all right, let's see what happens tomorrow. And another thing popped up. I think it wasn't until I saw the lip glosses, for whatever reason, it was like the Office Politics collection popped up along with everything, and the page was full. That's what I really remember. Like the page was full with all of my products, and it was like new. It has new on there, still there. It has new with this exclamation point, and I'm not sharing the page with anybody, any other new items, and it's like, wow, like this is really happening.
Yeah. All that hard work, all of that believing when there were some no's.
Oh, there was like so much happening. Like 2017 was like one of the craziest years for us. Like after talking to, the finance folks, it was actually a really great year, but I was working so hard that I could not see that. We had a retail store, and I opened the retail store because all of these retailers said that Black women didn't shop there. They didn't have, Black women don't shop in our store. Black women don't do this. So me even thinking, where does AJ Crimson Beauty get to live? Right. Like, where does it get to live? Like, this is a $150 artist kit palette. Like, it's not gonna be in, a mass market retailer. It's not gonna be in a drugstore. Even the foundation is $45, but which is less than some of the things that people gravitate to all the time. And I feel like it's a superior product, of course. And it is tried and proven, but it was like, where do we get to live? And if those retailers weren't, it's just like when the idea that, like this conversation on diversity that's so big now, right? Which in 2013, it wasn't that. Right. People weren't speaking to Black women directly, about their beauty, and they weren't thinking about putting them in the ad campaigns, where that was the first thing that I wanted to do, and then you had like the Fenty effect that came and kind of pushed that conversation even further, and made it what it is now. And now everybody's on board with kind of showcasing Black women, or they're putting or wanting their dollar and wanting them to bring it in, when we've been on that journey from the beginning, like from the onset. So to now finally have a home, and having spoken to a few folks, a few different retailers, but finding that Nordstrom really understood the direction I wanted to go, and I'm not interested in going in all of your doors and going out of business in the next 6 months. Like, I want to start off small. I want to grow the business within that world, in that universe, because there's things that we don't know about it.
Right.
There's things I don't know about it, but I want to learn along the way. And for me, it's a marathon. It's not this race. You know, I had so many people in the beginning like, oh, you should be doing this, and why aren't you doing that, and why aren't you selling this much, and why aren't you in all these stores? And I'm like, well, because I'm not that.
Listen, everybody got an opinion on how you should run
How you
your
should do it.
business, and they ain't got no,
but no resource.
and no dog in the race. They ain't
At
got
all.
nothing at stake on their end, but they always got something to say on how you should.
Facts.
Let me tell you, I get people, you should have did the lighting that way, or you should have be like, look, until you give me $1, we ain't got nothing to talk about.
No, and it's like, or it's like, well, where's your show?
Right, where's yours?
Where's your show? Like, just show me how to do it. Show me how you would do it on your thing.
Exactly.
And I think that's so much of it too. But but also too, I my ears are closed to all that kind of noise because I think that's also something that's really great too. You asked earlier, like, what's one of the things that I think that is different about artists today, you know, than when we were starting. We didn't have social media, so we weren't concerned with what everybody else was doing, and we didn't have a front row seat to what everyone else was doing, to even compare ourselves to. And the people that we are thinking about comparing ourselves to are people that we look up to.
True.
You know, I'm not really looking to see what the other makeup artists are doing over there because I never really get to see their work anyway.
Yeah.
I'm with hairstylists all the time, but I do know artists that are more popular than me or that are doing more exciting things than me, and I get to see that and feel like, wow, I want to. Okay, that's a level to get to. You know, now. Social media's kind of leveled the playing field, so everybody sees everybody's homework, you know, and everybody is trying to copy off of everybody else's homework, thinking that that's going to get them the A.
Yeah.
And you know,
truth be told, you just gotta do your own.
You gotta just do your own thing. You gotta have tunnel vision, and you gotta believe in your own thing because nobody's going to believe in it more than you.
Gotcha.
You know.
So true. So. AJ, I thank you for doing this. Tell us,
is this it?
Is there anything that we should know? Any little final touches you want to tell us about?
If you don't know about AJ Crimson Beauty, it is all natural, paraben-free, gluten-free. The foundations have been used on a myriad of TV shows and productions. Like since we started.
The artists at The View use it.
Yes, artists at The View use it. They've used it on Power for 5 seasons.
Oh, yes.
You know, it's had a great. It's been having a great run, and I absolutely love it, and you will love it too. And I'm not just saying that. You can get it at ajcrimson.com. You can get it at Nordstrom.com. You can actually get a selection of products on Amazon starting as of a week ago. Use your Prime if you don't want to wait.
Come on.
Yeah, it's been a great time.
I'm proud of you. Listen, I love to see people sticking with stuff like you told me, like glad to see me stick. I'm so glad to see that, because this is how long now? How long is AJ Crimson?
AJ Crimson Beauty is 8 years old. It'll be 8 years old this year.
Let me tell you.
And that's such a magical number.
It is.
So, yeah.
And to just get past one, once you get past one and just the saying, it's too hard, I'm not.
Yeah.
That says a lot about you, sir.
Thanks. Well, I mean, it's a relationship.
Yeah.
It's the hardest relationship I've ever been in. And it is absolutely a marriage, and we've fought. I've thought about separating from it, and thinking about divorce papers. I was sitting on the divorce papers, like getting ready to send them over. But I realized that we're together forever. So
that's what's up.
As long as I can be there with it, I'm with it.
Listen, best wishes to you.
Thank you. I appreciate
Congratulations.
it. Thank you for having me. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Like you said, you know where you can find him, and definitely we will have all the links in his right here. So Thank you so much.
Behind the scenes beauty.